Turning to a disturbing new development in this now infamous case, the police shooting of Breonna Taylor to death. Now, authorities have been under fire for shooting, basically, the situation here, shooting an innocent woman in her own home, and then there have been no arrests. What I have for you tonight, though, is actually a new twist in a case I've told you from the start that we would stay on. Reports that prosecutors were offering Ms. Taylor's ex-boyfriend a plea deal if he would commit to claiming that she was some kind of criminal. Now, the ex-boyfriend was already incarcerated on a drug charge. The Washington Post reporting that authorities told him if he said Taylor participated in his organized crime syndicate, he could see a possible 10-year prison sentence turn into only a probation. They were literally hanging a decade of prison over this person's head, allegedly, just to go after Miss Taylor after her death. Now, let's be clear. The offer came 5 months after police killed her. Taylor's family is saying it shows that authorities were more focused on basically setting her up and smearing her after death than making the arrests in the police killing. Now, authorities are denying any type of setup. They say this was a draft offered as part of typical, quote, pre-indictment plea negotiations. A member of the Taylor family legal team calls this entire escapade, quote, BS, and says shame on that office trying to attack a woman when she's not even here to defend herself. Joining us now in a special segment is Lenita Baker. She is a member of the legal team for the Taylor family. We're also joined by Mark Claxton. He's a retired NYPD detective, director of political affairs at the Black Law Enforcement Alliance, and an expert on policing and civil rights. Good to have you both here. Lenita, we have been on this story. This is quite a twist. In your view, what does this reveal about the authorities' approach to this case?
This is shameful that the Commonwealth Attorney's Office would stoop to this level in working with Louisville Metro Police. I am a former prosecutor, and the term co-defendant is very specific. It's someone who is charged in a pleading. Breonna Taylor was never named as a co-defendant in any offenses, and to name her in a plea negotiation is reprehensible on the part of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and they should be ashamed of themselves to try to smear Breonna Taylor's name after her death.
And to be clear about the process here, in the open case, she would be the alleged victim if there were charges in the shooting case. Is there any other evidence, as a journalist I have to ask this so we're clear, that suggests they had a lead about her being somehow involved in criminal activity that night that might be germane? Or do you view this as the authorities trying to cover themselves and smear her to sort of justify the shooting in the court of public opinion?
It's definitely a chance of the authorities to smear Ms. Taylor's name. Once all of the evidence is put forth to the public, again, we're under a protective order, so some things that we've received privy to discovery we're not able to talk about. But once the public is able to see all of the evidence that we've seen, they will know for certain that this is nothing more than a smear attempt for Ms. Breonna Taylor. We've seen this time and time again in police-involved shootings where they try to go back and smear the victim. But there is nothing that indicates that Ms. Taylor was involved in any illegal activity. Jamarcus Glover is adamant that she was not involved in criminal activity, so much so that he rejected the plea deal, which would have offered him a minimum sentence if he would sign the paperwork. He said no. This plea deal was made available to him in July. He rejected it in July. He still rejected it, and he has made it clear that he will not sign anything implicating Ms. Taylor because it's simply untrue. He's not going to lie just to get a favorable deal.
And on that, just briefly before I go to Mark, viewers are familiar with, we've covered all kinds of cases, including in the Mueller probe, where people make deals. They trade on information. Ms. Taylor, tragically, is gone and dead. Just to put a point on it, you're saying this other individual, whatever his situation may be, is risking years in prison rather than do what he says would be saying something false about her.
Correct. He has said time and time again that he refuses to implicate her, even if it means that he's facing more time, which he would be facing more time if he does not come to a plea negotiation with the officers. I did want to go back a little bit. The Commonwealth attorney, his response was that this was just a draft. However, it was a draft that was tendered to the defendant in the case, and he rejected it. That is, of course, it's not a part of the record because he didn't accept it, but he's the one that came forward with this information, with this plea deal. So it was tendered to him.
I appreciate your legal distinction there, which is helping us all understand this was very real. This was in play. Mark, you've been with us on a lot of different stories. You have a lot of professional experience, but this is really something. Your view, big picture.
Well, it's interesting because the reports that are coming out lay waste to the idea that what's taken so long with this prosecutorial decision in regards to Breonna Taylor is that there's some type of investigation going on. And I think oftentimes people have the impression when you hear an investigation going on, you have individuals on the ground with magnifying glasses looking for hair and fiber evidence and bug larvae, et cetera. But in fact, what's happening now is that they've already collected physical evidence, sent it off to the lab, had it back, processed, video evidence, witness evidence. And what they're actually doing is sitting around conference tables or working on PowerPoint presentations, figuring out how to control the narrative in a way that either absolves the police or minimizes governmental responsibility. That's what's going on.
On that, again, I want to be clear. So Lanita is here in her capacity as a representative and doing that work and sharing with us her view. In your capacity as an independent expert, with the 30 seconds I have, do you view this then as adding insult to injury and trying to smear the life of this woman who is, I'm just being plain, is a dead black woman in America because police came into her home and shot her to death?
It is absolutely inappropriate. It is absolutely outside the realm of professional investigations and law enforcement.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.